Nick Van Heel, married, father of two, and a member of St. Joseph in West St. Paul, considered himself an atheist in high school. But little did he know that by the time he graduated his senior year, he would become a Catholic.
I remember asking my mom one time if we were Catholic or Christian, and she didn't really know the answer. Um, so that's kind of how I was raised. Had some darker times in junior high and early in high school. Had some people close to me pass away. My grandfather died of cancer. My aunt died in a motorcycle accident. Another distant cousin who we used to go on summer vacation with committed suicide. And I kind of went into a deep, dark depression for a couple of years, and had decided for sure that there wasn't a God if he could allow those kinds of things to happen. So at the time I would have described myself as an atheist.
His life started to change, though, when his grandmother took in a foreign exchange student from Slovakia. They became friends, and Nick went home to Slovakia with him for a wedding. On the train, his new friend asked him some questions about his religious beliefs.
It started a process, I think, in my mind and in my heart and in our relationship. Being able to talk about that, and I just kind of started asking myself, well, what do I believe? I don't really know what I believe, because just a year or two ago I didn't believe anything.
Nick attended a Net Ministries Lifeline event with his friend, who was a devout Catholic.
The priest that was there, the guest speaker for that evening, was Father Dimitri Sala, I believe, out of Chicago. And very fiery, energetic preacher. And it got my attention, because that's not what I remember from the few times I'd been to a Catholic church. You know, when we'd visit my grandparents up north or something like that, the rule was if you stayed overnight, you went to church with them in the morning. So this was very different from that, rural Minnesota, small town parish kind of a priest. And it caught my attention. And the scripture reading during the Mass that day was about the hemorrhaging woman. And so that evening after the Mass, when he was up in front preaching, he was talking about the faith of this woman and how she was certain that if she merely touched Jesus' robe, she would be healed. And so he went on and on about that and asked people, to close their eyes and picture Jesus standing there and in your mind, reach out and touch his robe if you needed any kind of healing or were struggling with something, or maybe you didn't know Jesus at all. And all these people around me started closing their eyes and reaching their hands out, including my friend from Slovakia. And I thought that was a little weird. I thought, no way am I going to do this. You guys look like fools. This is not real. And I looked up, and the priest was looking right at me from up in front. And the way he was preaching that night, I thought for sure he was going to come right back next to me and say, "My son, why don't you believe?" And so I was just like, okay, close my eyes, put my hand out. I don't want that to happen. I'll just play the part here. As I sat there for a minute or two, I thought, okay, I already look kind of silly. I've already got my eyes closed and my head bowed and my hand out. Maybe I can give this a shot. It's just my imagination, right? I mean, let's see what happens. And so I pictured Jesus standing there in his, white robe and stuff like that. And I said to him, in my mind, I said, "Jesus, I don't know you. And I don't really have any faith. I have zero faith. Not like this hemorrhaging woman. I've got nothing here. So me touching your robe, I don't think it's going to do it. And since we haven't really met before, I'm going to reach out and take your hand." And so I pictured Jesus standing there with his hand out to me. And I reached my hand out to him. And as soon as I grabbed his hand in my mind, I was just filled with this sense of joy and peace and love like I had never experienced before. Eventually I kind of came to, realized that there were tears streaming down my face, which was not cool for a car guy, so I quickly wiped them away. But I couldn't really wipe away what had just happened. I had met God, I had felt His presence, and I knew at that moment that there was a God and that He loved me because I felt it. So after I decided I wanted to become Catholic and got involved in the RCIA classes, I wrote Martin a letter back in Slovakia. And I think the first line of the letter was just, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I went on to tell him about how his questions on that train ride from Prague to Košice really started a process, and how his friends and family back in Slovakia being so welcoming. I thought it was just because they were Slovaks, and so I wanted to go back to Slovakia as soon as possible. But I realized after meeting some of these people involved in that ministries and other Catholics who really lived their faith, that it was because they were Christians living their faith. That's what drew me in.
Nick became Catholic in 1998 near the end of his senior year. After graduation, he served on net ministries for a year, then joined a Catholic lay community called Community of Christ the Redeemer. There he met his wife, Emily. The two were married in 2007 and now have 2 children, Dominic and Elise.